All right, this is part two for two-point perspective. As you can see, we have quite a few lines going on here. That's why I highly recommend breaking this into multiple layers. A lot easier to control. Let's look at the other side of this place now, the what I call the east side, but it's just because it's projecting to the east side. But let's take a look at this and see what we have. So far we have all the control lines turned on. Let's see what we don't have turned on. And for some reason right now, when I click on the layer properties, it takes a while to open up. As I said previous, I went ahead and broke these all into two. I started the layers with 2PT, 2-point, and that is to help with grouping them all together in one place. And it's a lot easier to control or get to, especially the way layers is opening up right now. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and show you the that's the gable and the ridge line. Let's get down to here. I think I just have about everything turned on. So we'll look at the 2-point on. The only thing that's turned off right now is the 2-point on the center of the gable. We have to find that. We'll turn that on and talk to you about that. And the 2-point on the east control lines, turn those on. Now, on this here, we got this side going over here on this side. What I wanted to talk to you about was the ridge line. So the ridge line here, as on the south projection of this building, I went ahead and did a ridge line from the ridge line offset all the way back to the vanishing point. And I did that same thing to the opposite side. So we are going to establish a two gables, and this view here will be slightly turned, and we'll be able to see both gables, and then we'll be able to see part of the roof in there. All right, so we have all that turned on. So on this side, we just have a garage door is all we have. So I went ahead and selected or made a layer for garage doors, and that's just called east door on the layer. So that's the only door I have on this side. So I went ahead and outlined that, again taking the door down to our new ground line. This is our new ground line, because this control line here was taken from our ground line at our starting point corner all the way back to the vanishing point. So the doors will just go down to our new control line. And that's the only real feature I have going on here. And then I have the ridge lines all drawn in as well, and I'll show you how that works out in a second. All right, so we have almost everything turned on right now, except for, I keep clicking this twice thinking it will open up faster, but it doesn't. All right. So the only thing I do not have turned on is the 2-point building. So what I did is I made a layer of just the building outline. And I'm going to turn that on. I have doors, windows turned on. I have the ridge line, the ridge line turned on. Everything's turned on except for the outline of the building and the ridge line projection. So what I'm going to go ahead and turn those on. And I'll just let you take a quick look at this, what mess we got going here. And now we have a little bit of the outline. You're starting to see, hopefully you can start to see how this building is outlined. So now I'm going to go back in and turn off a lot of these control lines, or all these control lines, and leaving the features on here. And then you'll be able to see what we have established. All right, so I'm going to turn off the centerline gable. Leave the door on, east control line turning off, east control line for doors turning off. Doors I'm leaving on, east window control line turning off. Feature offsets, turning those off. Horizontal control, horizon line turning that off. Vertical control lines, horizontal. The ridge line, I believe I want that off. And yes, I want that off, and I want to leave the ridge line on, and I'll show you what that is in a second. Control line off. So all my control lines I want to turn these off. Windows I'm going to leave on. Text I'm going to turn off. Vanishing points, I don't need those. That's probably because this is a current layer, so that may, it's going to give me a warning here as soon as I can get this thing to open back up. All right, so where were we at? And 2-point vanishing points. And it's going to ask me, do I want to turn that off? That's okay because it's a current layer. That's what it's just warning me about, that the current layer. So if I was to draw anything right now on that layer with it turned off, I would not see the objects I'm drawing. So get this back open. All right, back up here, and we have 2-point vertical control lines. We don't need that. And I believe that was our last one. All right, so we've turned everything off now, and here's what we have left. So you can start to see the formation of a 2-point perspective. Now, these ridge lines here, I drew those in, and where they met, I just did a different color on those ridge lines, if you remember. Let me turn those back on for you so you can see how that roof line came together. And this is where a roof design comes in. And if you have questions on it, of course, you can ask me on that, but it's quite involved in a good roof design. So here's the 2-point ridge line. Turn that on. And let's go ahead and turn this guy on just for mass confusion. All right. So as you can see, or maybe you can or can't, but this line right here was one of my control lines for my ridge line. And what I did is I just drew a white line or a different color layer, the ridge line, and where it intersected, where these two intersected, is where it established my actually ridge line. And then I just drew a valley down through here, because there would actually be a valley, because this is a slope here, this is a slope on this side, and then this valley would catch the water draining down to this point. And this valley here is just drawn simply from the intersection down to where the eaves are. All right, so here is the start of this 2-point perspective, and the reason I say the start is because you have a long way still to go after you establish all these lines. Then you have to start doing all the detail work in there, all the texture, all the trim work, everything that's involved in giving it as realistic look as possible. Putting roofing on there, all that has to be encompassed to make that look as real as possible, along with the landscaping. So you have quite a bit to go after you get that portion done. But as I said before, this is all extra credit stuff. So I would not be focusing on this unless you have everything else pretty well nailed down. This is all extra credit. You don't have to do that. Don't have to do this work, but whatever you can get in there, I will evaluate it and give you points on it. But for a finished product, there's a lot more to do here to get that finished up. And then, of course, over on the cover sheet, just go to the final project, final exam. This is just going to be a regular polygonal viewport on this. And this will also have the index sheet, which is 25 points, or index information on this sheet, which is 25 points. This was giving me problems yesterday, so I'll show you a little trick what I did. Let's see. Of course, I just love when this happens. I just went back to the command because this thing was goofy. Yeah. Now it's giving me rectangular. Let's do this. I'll show you what I did. This thing was not giving me the proper snap on here yesterday, and I'll show you just a little shortcut that I did on this. It doesn't look like it's giving me the right viewport for some reason. We'll find out here in a second. Yep, that's what I was thinking. It's giving me some other kind of, so I guess you guys probably love seeing me seeing this mess up when the instructor's doing it. I'm not going to even edit this. I'm just going to keep on going and get this thing to work eventually. Let's see. So it's giving me some kind of different viewports. So what I'm going to do is do a shortcut on just making a rectangular viewport, not the polygonal, but you want to do the polygonal if you're doing the 2-point perspective on here. So I don't know why it was doing that, but anyway, so here's our cover sheet. Right in here is where your index will go. That's required for 25 points. If you don't put it in, you don't get the 25 points that are required on the sheet. If you do anything on the 2-point perspective, then you will not scale this drawing. You'll get to fill as much as you possibly can. Now, on these type of drawings, you can even, if you want to go out beyond, see how that end of the house kind of hangs over a little bit, that's okay. But if you zoom in on it and get it just to fit on there, that's a little small, but that would work okay with some landscaping and everything around there. And then, of course, everything, all the hatching and drive, and concrete and everything. So it's NTS, it's not to scale, and that's will be for your cover sheet. All right. So that concludes on the 2-point perspective. Hopefully that was helpful. That's a part 2. Watch part 1, then part 2. We will review these in class, and then we'll move on from there into the few days that we have left in this semester. Thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if this was helpful or not, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.